Ross, hell of a day yesterday. How you doing, man?
I'm doing all right. It's good to hear your voices. Nice to be back in Canada for the first time in a while. I've been in the States for a long haul, but good to hear your voices. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Well, welcome back to friendly territory. Off the bat, Timmy, forgive me. I just want to lay this one out there before we get into the minutia of it. Yeah. For the last two deadlines here, Ross, you've been a guy who's seen players walk out the door. How much fun was it to be on the other side of that coin?
Yeah, you're so, man, during the process of it, you're just so locked in and focused on the actual negotiation and doing the best you can in the deal that it doesn't really hit you until you have to make those phone calls. And even then you're still a little bit numb and have some fatigue from the preparation and what's all of that goes into executing a trade. But today I actually, on our database, when I, just was looking through some different things and working on a couple of different things, working on, rotation with our staff, talking to our pro scouts a little bit. I pulled up Ross Stripling and Robbie Ray just to reference backgrounds and pulled up their pages in our databases, and they had Blue Jays hats on. And that was a good feeling because you're right. There's nothing fun about calling a player and telling him he's been traded away, especially when it's away from a major league team. And when you're calling to acquire a player, it is it's a lot for a player either way, but it's a lot more fun that way. There's no question.
We heard you say going into the deadline that you expected to be really active. I know this is a season and a deadline unlike any other, but did you feel like what you got done was what you wanted and needed to get done?
Yeah, I would say so. Like we feel good about it, right? Like in the end, time will tell. So, but we feel good about the work that went into it. We feel good that we were prepared to make decisions and we had opportunities to acquire players at acquisition prices we were comfortable with. So we hoped that our activity turned into players coming our way and making our 26 or 28 man roster better and making our 40 man deeper. And in the end it did. So feel very good about, the team that we've been seen grow recently, and the guys playing a lot better. The team that was here, feel very good about the players that will be getting healthy, and Bo Bichette and Nate Pearson, Matt Shoemaker, Ken Giles. We could see Ken Giles very soon. So adding Robbie Ray and Jonathan Villar and Ross Stripling to that feels very good today.
I heard you say that there are other things that we could have done. Were you in on, I don't know, like someone that rhymes with the name Rance Rin?
we were, listen, it's our job to make sure that we understand every opportunity, and we've got to make sure that, out of respect for our team, for the city, for the country, that we exhaust every opportunity. If there was a way to make our team better, we wanted to consider it. So, like we say all the time, it is very true. We're not, when we say we talk to the 29 other teams extensively, we do.
Were you in on Slevinger? Don't answer that. Don't answer.
That was pretty good.
That could have went a bad way quickly there. I had to be careful with the words. Did you? But Ross, in all seriousness, I mean, like you got. It seemed, I love the thrill from the outside looking in. I'm sure as a GM, it's a horror at times, but all the insiders in baseball, they're letting fans in on kind of what potentially is happening, whether it's factual or not, is always kind of exciting. But I did get the sense that there was a sweet spot you were in terms of your prospect capital that you just weren't willing at this time to go above it, and you're very comfortable where you landed. Is that a fair assessment of this deadline for you?
Yeah, I mean, I would just only change one line, that we weren't willing. I mean, it just depends on what was coming back. We always have to be open-minded, but I do think the way that you articulated that is very fair. We want to make sure that, the word sustainable is used all the time. It really just, we want to win for a while. We want to be good for a while, and we want it to be something that builds and becomes an organization that everybody wants to play for. and that this city and country thinks and expects us to be year in and year out a team that, and they're livid when we're not in the playoffs because they come to expect this team to be just one of the best teams in baseball. And you just can't do that overnight, and you have to be patient and measured with your moves. So what you just said is accurate. But at the same time, we feel so good about other opportunities that will exist this offseason, the offseason after that, the next deadline. So that's why you do need to be more measured.
You've acquired a couple of guys looking for it right now. How fine is the line of helping guys find it or thinking that you can help guys find it versus 27 games left in a crazy season and a pretty tough division and 10 left against the Yankees?
Yeah, I mean, that is a very good question, Tim. As a former athlete, you know that there's only so much you can do in short periods of time. And we have all the respect in the world for the Los Angeles Dodgers organization, what they've done to help Ross Stripling, and the Arizona Diamondbacks, what they've done to help Robbie Ray. Mm-hmm. And we'll look to complement that. I think there's usage. There is the way they are attacking. There's also some benefit to having a slightly different approach. But in transitions, I think it's best to learn and ask questions. And we will, over the next few days, I think, see some opportunities that we can help those guys. And we also feel like we have the way that we've been using our pitching, we have ways to put guys into positions where they can potentially be more successful. So, we'll see. Like if Robbie Ray, like I think you guys were talking about just how good he was in 2017, how good he was last year. I mean, the guy struck out the world. He has the ability to be a Cy Young contender. And, like if we can just help him get back to a little bit more consistency on the plate, he's going to be much more than we could have asked for if we can just get the walks down. So, because the swing and miss his stuff is so electric, the swing and miss, nobody wants to face that guy. Nobody wants to see him coming in. So we are excited to be adding that. And Ross Stripling does it a different way, but has been a very effective major league pitcher for the last 4 years.
So Ross, let's stay on Robbie Ray here for a moment. And you only got a month, and hopefully it's more if you guys are in the postseason, obviously. But you don't have a lot of runway here to fix mechanically what his control issues have been. Are we led to believe, because of the time frame here, you don't think it's a huge adjustment the other way? You don't think Pete and the guys are going to have to really spend as much time as some other organizations might think to get his control, where it's down to a point where he's not walking as many guys and still striking out 12.5 per 9? You don't think it's that big of an adjustment?
Well, I mean, listen, like I would not say that it's just a matter of time and he gets things turned around. It's just too hard. Like, I think Robbie Ray will be an effective major league starter for some time to come. And when that consistency comes back is really difficult to say. I think the way we're thinking about it is we know he's going to get major league outs. We want to put him in positions to do that. And we hope that can be as a major league starter, and we'll give him the chance to do that. And even, maybe the first one out of the gates isn't in that form or fashion, but want to make sure we give him every chance to get back to that form. We did see a positive trend, the work that we've done in talking to people with the Diamondbacks who want to help him, talking to people that he's close to. We are encouraged by his last couple of outings, as is he. So, time will tell. I feel very good about the work that Pete and Matt Bushman and Charlie Montoya will do with our front office department to help him transition, and then do what we can to help him get back to that form of consistency.
Ross Atkins, general manager of the Toronto Blue Jays, joining us here on Tim and Sid. Sid kind of asked a similar question earlier, but AJ Preller of the Padres was out shopping like he was buying toilet paper at Costco during the start of the pandemic. Like it was just moving. Did you ever get to the point where you started to think this might be the year to really move this franchise? And where do you believe this rebuild is right now?
Yeah, I mean, so to the first question, no, we did not get to the point where we felt like we had to go all in and trade away from our top 15 group and move those guys to double down on this young team right now. And to your second question on where we are in the rebuild, is that we've talked about for a long time, is that, you go from a team that is in games to a team that's winning games. And then you go from a team that is expecting to win games every night. And, we're getting closer. I think once our rotation gets solidified and our young players get into the positions where they're more and more comfortable. I mean, just like to see the difference in Teoscar Hernandez at bats. I'm sure you guys see it. The difference in Randall Grichuk's at bats. When all of and it happens different times for every player, but as we've seen, Vladdy Guerrero has had a transition. Nate Pearson's transition has not been smooth. So it's hard to say when those things are all going to sync up, and this is going to be a very, very good team when that happens. But you can feel it. You can feel it starting to occur. And we'll be able to complement it, because we're going to continue to, I can't guarantee anything, but our goal is to continue to have a very, very good farm system and a deep one that can continue to not only provide talent as they're just coming to help our major league team, but as we've seen this year, we've seen some young players come up and help us. But also, I hate to talk about players as trade pieces, but that is a capital in today's world. Yeah. So we had players that we liked that we had to trade this year. And with all the respect in the world for Kendall Williams, we had players that we had above him. So that makes it more comfortable to make those moves.
Ross Atkins, GM of the Toronto Blue Jays, after a rather interesting trade deadline and what has been a very interesting year for all of us here on Tim and Sid. Ross, forgive me, I don't know how much time you spent in the clubhouse yesterday. Probably not a lot, but based on your intel, what was the reaction from the guys, and what message do you think you sent to them with these moves?
Yeah, you know what? It's interesting. I wasn't in there much because you can imagine how many phone calls occur after the where there's so many logistics, and then I was with the staff more, and the staff, we had a tough loss where we could have won. Iglesias made an incredible play. So
Jeter-like.
I think, so that kind of took a little bit of energy out of the room. But man, these guys from spring training, from last year, from talking to Bo and talking to Kevin, talking to Vladdy, talking to our staff, these guys want to win. Like they're not just happy to be in the big leagues. And they've shown that. They've shown that with their work. They've shown that with their effort in game. They've shown that with how they've gotten better. And so I think, they deserve that. They deserve that momentum that we show that confidence in them and demonstrate that we're willing to part ways with talent and add to the team and make sure that once we start that push, we don't want it to ebb. We want it to be a flow. So, our hats off to the names I mentioned. They're the reason that we're doing it and pushing things forward.
It's funny. We talked about that last year, and there's a little bit of angst from the fan base that if these young players played well, it may push this rebuild a little bit closer to where you're winning games, and then you're trying to make that transition. Do you guys feel, as an organization in the States, like the playoffs and the experience that this young core could get in the postseason is really important?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you look at teams like the Royals when they went the first year, came back the next year. Houston, they went and came back the next year. The Chicago Cubs, so many teams, young teams, they benefit so much from those experiences, and not only from what it means when they're actually there, but what it means to get there and the feeling of the level of excitement around that. Even as, like, you guys know, just covering it or just being a part of it as a front office member, that energy, there is not much like it. So that is exceptionally important and very much a part of where we are today and the decisions made yesterday.
Ross, just one more on my end. Did you encounter at all any players around the league who can contractually maybe say, I don't want to be a Jay because of the situation you're in Buffalo, because of just how odd the circumstances are, despite the fact you guys are doing an amazing job under these circumstances? Did you encounter any of that? Or was it a situation of, Sorry, let me look at that roster again. Yeah, well, I'll be in Buffalo soon. I'll meet you guys in Miami.
No, great question. We didn't at all. I think our players, I think have said and demonstrated that they're comfortable there, and they're having fun, and they're winning ball games as of recently. And I think that spoke much louder than the fact that we're not in Toronto. But man, do I wish we were. Especially for the players, all of them, every single player. But believe me, that thought went through my mind too, as we're, bringing Ross Stripling and Jonathan VR and Robbie Ray into an environment that isn't the one that, we're very proud of Buffalo. We're very proud of where we are, but man, would love to be bringing them into this city and this country.
I wonder if after 2020, Canada becomes a recruiting tool, but that is a conversation for another 2-hour show.
That's another one. Yeah. That's for sure.
Yeah. During yesterday's show, I mentioned how I was watching Teoscar come up with a walk-off hit a couple days after Grichuk's walk-off, how the young players are looking really good, and wondering if the Jays fans that didn't want to give you and Mark Shapiro a chance when you came in because of more what you represented than what you actually did, the end of the run with Batista and Eddie and Josh and those guys, and how you and we tried to preach patience as it moved along, even though there weren't many willing to listen. Do you feel like the plan you were trying to present all that time is starting to really come together now?
Yeah, I certainly hope so. We feel good about where we are. We feel good about the shape of the organization. We've said it before. I think if you get to a point where you have a good young core, you have a good farm system, and you have room to grow, and you're showing that you can compete and win games, it's a really, really hard spot to be young and agile. And so we feel good about where the team is, and we're not where we want to be yet, but we are confident that we can get there.
Ross, if someone told me a couple of months ago that you guys in Buffalo, missing 3 starting pitchers, missing Bo, would be adding at the deadline, I would have questioned that. But I want to congratulate, and I know you're just halfway there, but no, in all seriousness, though, I want to congratulate what you, Mark, and Charlie are doing here, because this is kind of nuts, considering the circumstances you're dealing with. And I know it's only 3 games above 500, but you guys are in it. In this season, you're in it, and you're adding, and the fan base, I know you weren't in the country during it. There's a bit of a buzz growing here.
Yeah.
You guys have seen that buzz before on a much larger scale, but it's growing a little bit. And I just want to congratulate you guys for putting yourselves in this position, considering the stuff that organizationally you've had to deal with. So, Ross, really appreciate it. Welcome back to Canada, and we'll talk again soon.
Thanks, Sid. Thanks, Sid. Thanks, Tim. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Be well, family well.
Okay. Likewise.